Hey now, take a step outside and seize the...
Greetings, fellow travelers. Oblyx here, and today I want to take just a second to talk to you about this Vostok Europe Radio Room. How y'all doing today? So guys, our week of Vostok Europe kicks off. Well, it kicked off with the amazing Energeo we did an unboxing on the other day. I've been wearing the heck out of this thing since I unboxed it. Love it. But the reviews are kicking off with this guy, the Radio Room. And this is actually the second Radio Room I've done on this channel. I did a review of the original Radio Room, this guy, sometime back. It was one of the first reviews I ever did. So it's probably a little rough around the edges. A younger Oblyx, a less seasoned Oblyx, did this review. But yeah, this is the new Radio Room. New Radio Room. This is the old. This is the new. So let's check it out. Comes in a typical Vostok Europe box. And nothing too fancy. I mean, just the book and the tag. You know, nothing crazy in here, guys. Alright, and here we go with the new Vostok Europe Radio Room. So, evident right off the bat is the reason why it's called the Radio Room. These light and dark red bars, or blackout periods, you can see painted on the dial. These guys came from back when the Titanic sank, and they couldn't get a message out saying that they were having problems and to come save them because of all the radio chatter that was going on in the background from other ships talking to each other. So they enacted some regulations around blackout windows. So if I remember right, and it's been a while since I looked it up, but the darker color red, here just past the 15 and just past the 45, are the point in time during the hour at which you cannot transmit a radio message. So right now, given that this watch is set correctly to our time, we could not be transmitting a radio message right now because the minute hand is within that red period. Now the lighter red up here at the top, and just past the 12 o'clock marker and just past the 6 o'clock marker, indicate when you cannot transmit Morse code. So you can transmit radio, but not Morse code. Here you can't transmit radio, but you can transmit Morse code. So it's inversed. On the old Radio Room, you can see similar things. We'll focus this up here in just a minute. So we've got a date complication down here at the 4:30 with the automatic marking. It is 200 meter water resistant. You can see right there between the 7 and 8 o'clock. So we've got the 9, 3, and 6 marked, and we've got double bars everywhere else except for up here at the 12 where we got kind of a double arrow. It's a single arrow but split in two. We've got a 24-hour indicator up here at the top, and then we've got a day-night indicator down here at the bottom. So you can see it's drifting into the nighttime hour, or we're a little bit into the nighttime hour. So you got a nice sword minute hand and an arrow out, or hour hand. And you've got a nice long second hand almost all the way out here to the track. It is actually all the way out to the track, but not all the way to the edge. A little lollipop there toward the end, and of course a thicker counterweight done in red for some nice contrast. Matches the radio blackouts on the dial. As well, the Vostok Europe logo is in red and Vostok Europe written in black. Radio Room's in red, and Day-Night/24 is in black right under Radio Room. We've got this nice chapter ring with minutes delineated all the way around. So the glass itself is K1 mineral crystal. It sits kind of between sapphire and mineral glass. So mineral glass is very shatter resistant, but very scratchable. Sapphire is not very shatter resistant, but not scratchable. K1 sits in that kind of sweet spot in the middle. And after listening to several interviews with Igor, who is, I believe, the managing director or Grand High Poobah of Vostok Europe, he said it's just too expensive to put sapphire into his pieces because they're so big. And as you can see, this is a big piece. It's not a small chunk of glass. So in a cost-saving measure, they went with K1. Seems pretty scratch resistant. I haven't scratched any of my VEs up yet, and I've got quite a few that go on my, wear rotation, words in my mouth. But the judge is still out. I am generally pretty careful with my watches, and I've only scratched one up in the last year. So, and that was, I have no clue how I did that. But I'm generally pretty good with my watches, so it may be a testament to the glass, but it may also just be a testament to the fact that I'm pretty careful about wearing them. You can see it is L316L stainless steel, and you can see it is bead blasted all the way around. So no shiny, but you've got that nice kind of matte finish. If you're into that, you dig it. You got a VE logo on the crown. No helium escape, even though it is 200 meter water resistant, which is fine by me. It is, of course, a screw down crown, being a dive capable watch, though not a dive watch because there is no bezel, rotating bezel on it. This particular model comes with this nice two-tone leather strap with the white running down the center to match the watch. You've got these nice kind of satinized bead blasted rivets here. Nice flexible leather. Very comfortable to wear. You've got a double tang on this side. VE branded buckle with, again, double tangs. I wish these were attached together. It is a little bit, becomes a little annoying to hook it up when they free float like this. It would just be easier if they were, if there was a bar running across the two, but it's fine. It's fine. You got a free float, captive first keeper, free float second keeper, God's intended way. You'd think I'd be used to saying that by now. Flip this guy over, and you see a screw down case back with an exhibition window, which is super nice. Now this strap is 24 millimeters. That's a big one. You're going to have a hard time finding replacement straps in the 24 millimeter range, though I will say R2A Watches does generally have some, especially if you want like a nylon NATO. I know I've picked up a 24 millimeter nylon NATO from them in the past. I want to say it was around $25, though. Don't quote me on that. For a different Vostok Europe watch. So on the back here, we've got 20 ATM water resistance. We've got Radio Room, which is, of course, the model, though this is the new Radio Room, right? We've got all stainless steel case, and we've got numbering, as with most Vostok Europes. In fact, I don't think I've seen one that isn't. They are all limited editions. They only make a certain number of each model or each face. Usually it's based on the face. So there are 500 of these in circulation, and this is number 125. So 500 of this particular coloration of this model of new Radio Room. And again, there are other ones in other colorations. There's a black dial with the red markers. There's a blue dial, or a black dial with blue markers. There's several different stylings. Now, the movement in this guy is one you may not be familiar with unless you're into Russian watches. Now, here's where things get a little bit tricky. The brand who makes the watch is Vostok Europe. The brand who makes the movement is Vostok. Not the same company. Not related. They have some history. Vostok Europe was founded out of some things that Vostok did, but not related in any other way. Separate entities, managed separately. Vostok is a Russian-based company. Vostok Europe is based out of Vilestat, Lithuania. So former Soviet bloc, but a different company altogether. Now, the movement is a Vostok movement, not Vostok Europe, but Vostok. And it is the 2432 Vostok movement, and it is, of course, fully decorated. You can see the Geneva striping on the customized rotor, branded Vostok Europe. You can see some nice decoration inside. It does say Russia on it, so it is a fully Russian movement, which is pretty nice. Hopefully that's coming across on the camera. Really do like the way these movements look, and that rotor's being stubborn. It tends to be a little hitchy on the rotor. It doesn't make the watch bad or whine less or anything. It just takes a little more motion to get them going than it does, say, a Seiko NH35. If you're used to an NH35, this is going to feel a little chunky to you watching the rotor. Now, something to note on this, just design aesthetics, right, is how far down these lugs come. They're pretty deep, so they hang fairly low, and they're a little bit sharp here on these edges. So if you have a larger wrist, now I have a 7-inch wrist, and it's not bad for me. But if you go up to an 8, 9, 10-inch wrist, obviously this strap's probably not going to work for you. You're going to have to replace it with a NATO or something like that. These may actually poke into you if you have a larger sized wrist. So something to be aware of. Granted, that's going to affect a very small portion of the population, but if you're one of those guys with those Popeye wrists, Popeye forearms, then you want to be careful of that. Maybe try one on before you buy it, just to check it out, or at least get a good return policy. So we did talk about this guy being a big old beast, so let's check it out on the calipers. There we go. Now across just the dial, you are looking at a 46. That's pretty massive. Now I haven't even got the crown or the case. If I go crown and case, you're looking at a 52. Lug to lug. This guy's sitting at about a 58. And thickness, he's no skinny weight. He is 17.8, almost 18 millimeters. So really a big, chunky piece. So if you're into big pieces, this may be a great choice for you. Let's check the weight on this chunky monkey. There we go. So in ounces, you're looking at 4.9. And in grams, you're looking at 140. So definitely no lightweight, but that's a lot of metal and a lot of watch. All right, we're going to check and make sure it's not sapphire. We know it's not sapphire. They tell us it's K1 crystal, but we're going to verify that because you guys seem to like when we do this. Break out the old diamond selector 2. We'll set it to 1 pip, and we make sure we're ready. Touch the tip to the glass. If it were sapphire, this would light up like a Christmas tree and start beeping. It is not. It is just K1 mineral crystal, so you still have that 1 pip. Contrary, if it were sapphire, much like this Lenovo smartwatch I'm testing out, let me know if you guys are interested in smartwatch reviews. I've got tons of them. But if we were to test this out, you see, lights up like a Christmas tree and goes beep-bitty beep-beep, which tells us it is, in fact, sapphire. All right, here it is on the time grapher. You guys seem to like this. And you can see this movement is all over the map. And I found this to be pretty consistent with most of these Russian-made movements, the 2432s and whatnot. They tend to not be very stable out of the factory. You can make them so, but if these numbers are consistent, if it was 50, minus 50, minus 50, minus 50, minus 50, then you could regulate it. But because these numbers are so far dispersed, we'll have a 47, then a 14, and then, they're just all over the map. That's a little tougher to regulate, and that generally shows kind of sloppy manufacture. But it's kind of what I've come to expect out of these Russian movements. You definitely do not get a Russian movement watch for accuracy. If you want accuracy, go to the Swiss or the Germans. That's where the accuracy is. And that's why Vostok Europe as a company seems to have moved very heavily towards the Seiko NH35A movement. Most newer watches from Vostok Europe, you will find a Seiko movement inside of some form or fashion. And as you know, those are highly accurate and easy to regulate. These Russian movements tend to be a little older, a little clunkier, and not quite as accurate. Alright, just for giggles, I went ahead and threw the old Radio Room on the time grapher because I did not have the time grapher when we reviewed this watch. So just to see how it does, it's actually running the same movement, and you can see it's kind of all over the map too, though not nearly as bad as the new Radio Room. So it's just kind of indicative of this model of movement, to be not quite as accurate. Something else to note, it is running at 19,800, which is a little bit slower, and that means you are going to see a little bit of jumping around on that second hand as it moves around. You start getting up into the 2100s, 2300s, you're going to start seeing a smoother sweep on that second hand. So here we go, the old and the new side by side. Over here on the left, we've got the old Radio Room in purple, and over here on the right, we've got the new Radio Room in red. So you can see the changes. We've moved the 24 dial up inside, up here, the 24-hour complication, as opposed to it being a hand on the original. And we've dropped the rotating bezel, the 24-hour GMT rotating bezel that was on the old one, in place of, again, just that 24-hour complication in the center, and we added a day-night indicator. Both of them still have the date. And as you can see, the case has changed slightly. Still has that kind of faceted design that the original had, but these are more rounded off on the corner, on the edges here, where these are slightly rounded, but not as deeply as they are here. As well, as you can see here, the lugs on the new model, which is on top, come down a lot further than the lugs did on the old model here. And of course, the case back, you see we've gone to a different type of screw down case back than we had originally, but we can see that movement being pretty much the same thing. We've got a smaller lug width on the old one than we do on the new one, but we retain that bead blasted finish. So the loom on this guy, they did put Superluminova on there, so all the bars and the arrows and such, as you would expect, are loomed. The dial itself is not loomed. It is on the original. So the original Radio Room, this is a full loom dial, so the whole thing lights up, except for the purple parts. The new Radio Room is not a full loom dial, at least in this flavor. Remember, there's different flavors. There's only, 500 of these made, I think. Yeah, 500 of these made of this particular dial. This is not a full loom dial. I think there is a full loom dial, or at least maybe the Radio Room lights up on some of the dials that I've seen. Again, different flavors, different strokes for different folks, right? So the loom on here is not bad. It does not last a huge amount of time, but it does do a fairly adequate job of looming on the watch, so you could wear this at night without any issues. Now, what would I wear this piece for? Well, this is, for me, it's a conversation starter. When I wear this piece, everybody always asks, what in the world is with that dial? What's going on? And they may not even know the term dial. They may just say, that's a strange watch. And then I get to have a much more in-depth conversation with them about where it came from and the sinking of the Titanic, which most people find to be a very cool subject to discuss. I guess thank you, Leonardo DiCaprio and a movie. Anyway, I said it's a great conversation starter to talk about watches and to kind of share your love and passion of watches with other people, which is an awesome thing to do. You'll find out things that you may not know about them. Oh, my grandpa gave me a such and such, and I've had it in the drawer for years. Oh, break that thing out and wear it. I'd love to see it, that kind of thing. Really start some neat conversations. So it would be challenging to wear this around the office if you're in a suit because it is so thick. A tailored suit and sport jacket is just not going to fit real well over this thing. But if you're in an office with slacks and polos or something along those lines, you're going to be fine. If you're a t-shirt wearer, t-shirt and jeans for work, you're going to be fine. Be a little bit careful with the glass because it is only K1. It is not sapphire. You can scratch it, especially if you're like in construction or something like that where you're dealing with sharp things all day. And I would, if you're going to be out in that sweaty, hot environment, I would recommend replacing the leather with, say, a NATO strap. Again, going to be a little bit challenging to find due to the oddball size being 24 millimeters, but you can do it. They're not impossible to find. They're just a little bit more challenging than, say, a 20 or a 22. So let's check this guy out on my 7-inch wrist. We'll slide him on. Due to the nature of the leather, it pops on super easy. So very, very comfy ahead of time. Nice smooth leather. And there you go on my 7-inch wrist. Now it is a total wrist filler. And again, like I was talking about, see how these are kind of angled down just right across the edge of my wrist? I have a 7-inch wrist. If you have an 8-inch wrist, this may be poking into you. If you have a 9-inch wrist, it probably is going to poke into you. So be conscious of that. I said, maybe try it out. Try one out before you buy it because it is right at the edge of my wrist. So 7 and under, you should be fine. Over 7, you may want to be conscientious of that. Now, because the lug-to-lug is so long, it makes these straps come down just right down the side of your wrist. Again, on a 7-inch wrist. An 8-inch is going to stick out a little more, a 9-inch is going to stick out a little more, but for those of us with 7 or smaller, it's going to come pretty much straight down, which means it can be a little bit smaller of a strap. But you can see I've got quite a bit of room here to grow. So even on my 7-inch, you've got about an inch and a quarter, maybe inch and a half of extra space there to grow on the original strap. Anything bigger than that, you're going to have to replace the strap with something else. So let's talk price on this guy. As with most Vostok Europes, that kind of is the point. That's kind of the turnoff for a lot of folks. Vostok Europes are not cheap. They are a boutique brand. They're not a micro brand. I think they're beyond that phase. They're bigger than a micro brand. And this is my personal opinion here. There's no set criterion for that I know of. Just me saying, right? They're too big to be a micro brand anymore. But I do think they are a boutique brand. I don't think they're a full-on brand. Being kind of a niche boutique brand, guys that like huge chunky watches, dive watches specifically, they tend to ask a little bit more because they have a very rabid fan base that when VE puts out a new piece, they suck it up like a Hoover or a Dyson, man. Their fans are absolutely insane about sucking up all the ones they can get. There are guys that have whole VE collections of every VE they can get their hands on. So the price on this guy right now on R2A Watches is $529 as I record this today. They list the retail price at $629. So, price is always subjective, right? I do think that's probably a bit high. I would struggle to pay $529 for this piece, given that it's not as accurate as I would like it to be. I love the looks. I like the styling. I think it's a little bit big for daily wear. I think it's more of a casual wear piece. Just given the size and weight, it's not something you want on your wrist every day, though there are guys that'll do it. I'm just not one of them, and I think most guys are that way. They wouldn't want something this big on their wrist every day. But like I said, there are guys that absolutely pull it off. But that's going to make that $529 price tag a little bit steep for a lot of folks. So, I actually picked this one up on the used market. I picked it up on the Watch Gang Exchange page, and I think I paid around $200 for it. So that to me is a very fair price for this particular piece, and I would happily do it again if need be. I have no regrets at that price for what I got. Now, we'll throw a little plug in. If you guys are interested in this piece, R2A Watches does have it in stock, and I can get you, I think it's 20% off. Don't hold it to me. I am an affiliate with R2A, and that doesn't mean that R2A sent me any money or gave me any watches or anything like that. They didn't sponsor this review in any way. What it does mean is that if you buy a watch and use my code, they'll put a little money into an account for me that I can use to buy more watches for more reviews. That's all that means. So if you want to do that, you're by no means obligated to do that. You want to work out your own deal with them, hey, go for it. But you can use my code OBLYX, just my name, at checkout, and you'll get, like I said, I think it's 20% off, but don't quote me on that. But I think it's in that ballpark on any new piece. I don't think it works on clearance items and stuff like that. Another good thing for you to do if you're interested in Vostok Europe at all, or any of the Russian brands, then you may want to join the Vostok Europe timepieces group, which is fully owned and operated by R2A Watches and the leadership thereof. It's a Facebook page or Facebook group for people that like Vostok Europe timepieces. I've been a member for, a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years. I don't remember. Been a while. And yeah, it's a great community of like-minded individuals that like Vostok Europe, Russian pieces in general. Aviator is another brand I really like. That's in that group as well. It's not just Vostok Europe pieces. It's a lot of Russian watches. Scolia. My mind's blanking on me all of a sudden. Of course it is. But yeah, it's just a space for guys to hang out and talk about Russian-based watches, right? So check it out. Like I said, the owners of R2A are in that group, and they're always chatting in that group, and they're always giving you good deals on pieces like this. If you're interested in Vostok Europe, it's a great place to look. You don't want to use my affiliate code and get the 20%. That's fine. Join the Vostok Europe timepieces group. Maybe you get a good deal from there. So there's multiple avenues to get you what you want. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So guys, I think that's going to do it for this Vostok Europe new Radio Room. Not the old one, but the new one. So I sure do appreciate you guys coming to hang out with me today, as always. And until next time, you guys get out there, make some noise. See ya.